Hey everybody, getting ready to go live right here on the Suzette Speak Show on Voice of the Caribbean I Radio.
Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. What's up? It's Suzette Speaks live on your radio right here on Voice of the Caribbean I Radio. Happy that you are joining us. I am grateful that you are here listening. We have a lot to talk about. Of course, today's topic is going to be on the great debate. If you were tuned in this past Tuesday night was the big night. Some of us, like myself, went to a debate watch party. Others watched the presidential debate at in the comfort of their homes, and we were able to evaluate the candidates that are going head to head to serve as the next president of the United States. They are Vice President Kamala Harris, as well as former President Donald Trump. There were so many highlights. I can't even play all of the highlights for you, but I was there watching among a group of predominantly Kamala Harris supporters. I had gone to an event, a live location, in a movie theater actually to watch the debate. And I want to know today, my question is, do you think that Kamala Harris should take on Donald Trump in a second debate? Do you think there should be a second debate for President of the United States? Also, do you think that, I want to know who you think won. Do you think the President of the United States uh, is worthy of what we witnessed this past Tuesday? The highlights I want to talk about, and again, the number here is 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch here on the Suzette Speak Show, 850-446-0562. You know, this is a platform where we talk about news and trends from social media to what's going on all over the world. Of course, politics is hot right now. We are less than 60 days away from voting. Listen, a lot of places, I can't believe it, are already getting their ballots across this nation. There are places that have started their early voting already for the presidential election. We here in Florida still have time to register to vote, of course. Voter registration for the November election closes on October 7th. So we still have some time. If you have friends, families, those in your circle that you know are not registered to vote, we still have time to do that. And we also want to start requesting the vote by mail, or what we call absentee ballots, so you can vote from the comfort of your home. You can do that quite easily. All you have to do is go to your supervisor of elections website. That is, wherever you live, whatever county you live in, you just need to look up your supervisor of election. And of course, they will have a button for you on where to access or order your vote by mail. So we have a lot that we're going to discuss about this past debate. Y'all want to know who you thought won this? I don't know. Can we call it strange? It was a little bit strange. But who you think will win the actual contest? Who will win the president of the United States? Right now, the polls say it's neck and neck. I can't believe it, but the polls still say it's neck and neck. Right now, depending on where you're polling, from state to state, of course, there are 7 particularly critical what they call battleground state that go from election to election between Democrat to Republican, back to Democrat, back to Republican. Those battleground states have been the focus of the candidates. And as we talk about what we saw in the debate and listen to some of the clips from the debate, I want to know who you thought won. What were the main, let me say, policy takeaways that you got? What do they actually stand for? And what are they going to be working on to improve your life? That's what I really wanted to know as far as your takeaways from this debate. Now, there are going to be people that agree that Miss Kamala Harris won. There are going to be people that I don't know how, but on the internet, I see people saying that, what did you watch? It was most definitely a Donald Trump win. I don't know about that. But there are so many people with different opinions on this topic that we're going to go over factually, step by step, some of the things that were said and some of the highlights. So you will know, in case you didn't miss, and didn't watch it and you missed it, you have to know Wagwan. You have to know what's happening in these streets. So good afternoon. If you're watching online, shout out to the people who have the Voice of the Caribbean INI radio app. I'm here watching online, the people on the YouTube side. Big up those watching on YouTube. I see you, Smooth Approach on the YouTube. Good afternoon to you, sir. And of course, if you're listening, whether you're on your lunch break in your car, if you're at your job, wherever you are, and you're tuned in, let the people know that Suzette Speaks Live is on the radio. Again, if you are joining us from Miami, Kendall, those areas, make sure you're tuned in. If you know and you just stumbled upon us, now you know 94.3 FM in Miami. All the way up in Fort Lauderdale, we are at 102.1 FM, North Miami, Hollywood, Wagwan. We can be found at 102.3 FM, right? Different dials in different areas. So Orlando, all the way up in Orlando, let's go. Lake Mary, what's going on? Winter Haven, what's going on? Winter Garden, what's going on? 99.7 FM. And of course, our friends in Vero Beach, Port St. Lucie. 105.3 FM. I want to shout out Miss Chin. I want to shout out Johnny Too Bad. Interesting. Thank you, Opal Lee, a fellow attorney, for breaking down what's going on with immigration. It's super important that we understand what's going on with the immigration laws. A great show. And what we do here, especially during the midday, during the week, is we try to bring you programming that helps the community, that elevates us in terms of our knowledge and our understanding of what is happening and what is really going on around us so that we can make intelligent and informed decisions, right? So, in the spirit of that goal, again, not to tell you what to do, again, everybody has their own vote, and your vote is what? Your voice. So, when you're going to the booth in November, if you are not registered, the first step is to get registered, of course. We have different programs where, again, people who are formerly incarcerated, if they meet the requirements, listen, you can register too. You got to just read and make sure you meet the requirement. Again, if you're a first time voter or if you haven't voted in a long while, you should just check your status. You check your status on your supervisor of elections page, and you want to do it now. So you can make sure you're registered. If you think you're registered, that you're actually registered. So I want to big up the people watching online. Again, those watching, or if you want to take us on the road with you, you can always download the Voice of the Caribbean app. INI Radio is always here for you. And we represent for the diaspora. We're here. Again, a lot of us made this amazing decision to migrate to the United States. Oh gosh, we got to talk about what Donald Trump said. With regards to our brothers and sisters of Haitian descent, are we going to take this? Are we going to actually take this seriously? The accusation was made, and I don't even like to repeat it because it got so deeply offensive to me, listening to a person who is literally 50% of the population believes that they would make an excellent president of the United States. And the racist comments that I heard with regards to my Haitian brothers and sisters, the migrants that are in a specific area of this country. Yes, we're talking about the presidential debate, y'all, if you're just joining. And what former President Mr. Trump said erroneously, incorrectly, it has been debunked. It is completely false. And the things that he has brought up don't have anything to do with what he actually needs to focus on. Y'all don't get me on my soapbox. Let's talk about this debate. The number here is 850-446-0562. It's Suzette Speaks Live on your radio. I'm going to make you know already. McCann, come tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so you'll miss me tomorrow. But I'm here every Thursday, every other time, Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. at your service. Again, we give you news you can use. I have good conversations too. So if you are new here, welcome. I'm glad you found me. If you're watching online, I big up your my viewers who are online. Big up yourselves. All right, so Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump took the debate stage for the first time, and so far the first and only matchup that we expect from them this past Tuesday. And we are less than, can you believe, 8 weeks from this election. We are on the emergency break right now, right? It is the most important time. Post Labor Day is where things really speed up, and time is literally of the essence for these candidates. They have a limited amount of time, especially Vice President Kamala Harris, who just came in the race a little over a month ago. She has, again, this is the most consolidated campaign season we have seen. Now, we saw what the first debate did when it was President Biden still as the candidate for the Democrats. We saw what the first debate did we not? It literally changed the trajectory of the entire race. And I want to know if you think this is going to change the race here. Now, we've had a couple of also major endorsements since this debate. Taylor Swift came out. Are you guys Swifties? You guys know who Taylor Swift is? Well, there's a lot of people, hundreds of millions who do. And just based on her endorsement of Kamala Harris yesterday, the websites where people can register to vote, find out their status about voting, they went up with, I think it was like 350,000 views in one day, based on what Taylor Swift did, which was endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. So when we watched this debate, I thought, I watched in a crowd. I told you I went to an actual debate watching event. Big up everybody who held debate watch parties, because that's a thing now. This was coming like a sporting event. I was encouraged to join in a group of people watching. And did she eat him up? Like some people say. People say she ate him up. I was watching the reply of the American hip hop rapper Plies. If you guys know who Plies is, if you're of a certain generation and you're on Instagram all the time and you're on these other platforms, you might know who Plies is, because he has been known for his very real, or sometimes keeping it real goes wrong, as well as his colorful, let's put it, reactions. And he gave one of the most crazy reactions to the debate. He brought out a belt literally and started to snap the belt, as in somebody got their butt whooped. In his opinion, it was Kamala Harris that did that for Donald Trump. That he was outwitted and out argued as far as the arguments of policy, what he's going to do. But people say, as the prosecutor, she had quite a night. She held her own. She wasn't baited by him. She didn't get flustered. It looked more like he was very offended when she mentioned a few points, as in her point. I'm going to play a little bit for you. Her point when she said his crowds are small. Well, he don't like for you to tell him that his crowd size is small. But she mentioned that his crowd size is small and that people leave because they don't like the vitriol. They don't like the divisiveness, being so dividing in terms of what he always is doing, putting one group of people against another. That was very interesting. So they prepped for the face-off. It came. I don't know about this thing. We had discussed it here, that there was going to be muted mics. It didn't seem like the mics were muted. I'm going to play a little bit for you, though. Didn't seem like the mics were muted at all, actually. It seemed like he was allowed to talk. And let's hear a little bit of what Mr. President had to say.
And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom. Vice President.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that
Why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question with your
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question with your veto.
you could do abortions in the 7th.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. The United States, who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
Listen, it went head to head. If you missed it, you can definitely tune in online. Thank you to those watching. I see you, the big picture. How are you? And those watching on my Facebook side and on the Instagram side. Big up everybody on the app as well. Suzette Speak Show Live, talking about the presidential debate, the fallout. Do you believe Kamala Harris should do this again? Immediately following this debate, Vice President Kamala Harris said she wanted to do another one. Trump has been hedging and has basically made it clear that he doesn't want a second debate. Now, some people say she did so great, and I agree with that, that she doesn't need a second debate and that it would be to her disadvantage to debate this gentleman again. Now, as you heard in the clip, there was one point that I think was made that we have to clarify. The presidential debate saw a lot of mentions of Roe v. Wade. And we know, even in Florida right now, there are amendments that are going to be on our ballot that talk about a woman's right to what I call bodily autonomy, a woman's right to choose. Right now, the law in Florida has limited the woman's right to choose when it comes to pregnancy to 6 weeks, where most people don't even know that they're pregnant. And now we do have an opportunity to vote yes. Okay, you're going to look up these amendments. We could actually, I'm going to do a show dedicated to the amendments on this ballot. There are 6 constitutional amendments that we're going to vote on, 2 that were placed on by the voters by collecting signatures. That's Amendment 3 and 4. Those 2 have to do with the legalization of a woman's right to choose, as well as the legalization of what they call recreational marijuana. Basically, you would not have to use a marijuana medical card anymore in the state of Florida for a certain amount. I have it written down here. I gotta find my notes, but you wouldn't have to get a doctor's note anymore for very small amounts of marijuana when it comes to the what is it called, the oil, as well as the actual leaf itself. It would go in. I gotta do actually a show on both of those, so we can go into depth so you know who created these ballot initiatives that will go to the voters and why they're being proposed to be put in the Constitution of the state of Florida. But anyway, going back to the presidential debate, Donald Trump made several dishonest allegations that Democrats want to make sure a woman has the right to choose and that Democrats support the right to choose to the 9th month and the 8th month. That is illegal in the United States. That is not a part of the Democratic Party platform. And he kept spewing this lie when, in fact, it was Mr. Trump who appointed the Supreme Court justices, 3 of them, who he appointed that he knew had conservative leanings. They thought in a conservative way. And they were appointed with an eye to overturn what was 50 years of precedent. The case was called Roe v. Wade, which allowed a woman's right to choose and a medical right for patients, because people need to get termination of pregnancy as a matter of saving their lives. A lot of times people take pregnancy for granted. You just wake up and you're pregnant and then nothing will happen. And no. As they say, it's a miracle. The miracle of life is the right way to put it, because so many things can go wrong. We don't oftentimes share what can happen. I've known women who have lost children in their pregnancy in the late stages, miscarriage and such. There's so much that can go wrong. And he is there flip-flopping on whether or not women should have this choice. Right now, it's on the ballot. He was asked directly, would he be supporting the amendment in Florida that will protect a woman's right to choose, right? And extend it past the 6 weeks when most women don't even know that they're pregnant. And right now we have a climate around the country, 20 some odd states are now limited, where a doctor can be afraid to prescribe what is a medically needed procedure to save a woman's life, and also does not have exceptions in certain states when it comes to sexual assault. All right, when it comes to interfamily violation. This is the country we now live in, thanks to Mr. Trump. But now he's saying he support IVF. I wonder if you know, well, in vitro fertilization, where in that process, you have to be able to, the doctors have to be able to know that there are going to be embryos that are implanted that don't survive. Can they discard them or not? Embryos that are not healthy, eggs that are not healthy, that you have to discard or don't implant properly. Is that now considered a medically needed procedure? He's now flip-flopped on that, y'all. It's quite frightening. It's quite frightening. So he was on the stage on the debate on Tuesday, making up story, saying that now he's going to support funding IVF. You know how expensive IVF is? Instead, he has basically put in place what we have now, which is that each state makes its own laws, and that the majority of Americans now, majority of women now live in places where they don't have open access. As again stated before, reasonable access. Patients don't have reasonable access to what can be medically necessary to save your life, or to save the child, or to save the mother. Listen, we have to look at this issue and not be bamboozled by someone now who is flip-flopping and saying, no, I'll pay for IVF. No, this is incredibly irresponsible. But we are clear where Vice President Harris stands. She wants to protect a woman's right to choose. And she has made it clear that if Congress, right, the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate passes the bill, she will sign it to protect a woman's right to choose. We had so many other statements. I want to delve a little deeper. Some of the takeaways and the taglines that we had from this debate. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump faced off and dueled on their policy. If you think there was policy on both sides, I don't know if I agree with that. And Trump veered off on a tangent about immigrants eating pets. I have to touch on that. An unfounded lie that he spewed during the debate talking about our Haitian brothers and sisters. We're going to touch on it, because we have to realistically look at what's at stake and why it's so important that we get to the ballot box and we stop playing games with this election. This is crazy to me. It's important that we be reminded how consequential this upcoming November election is. If you're not registered, you can be registered now. Go to your supervisor of elections website. Just put Broward County, Dade County Supervisor of Elections and register. Check your status now, so you know, especially if you haven't voted in a long time, that you are in fact registered and that you will be able to participate in the democratic process of picking our next leader of the United States. It is so important. We're going to talk more about the debate after this commercial break. Suzette Speaks live on your radio. Stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. More after this.
Florida's premium soiree, Colors Music Night returns on Sunday, September 29th, 5001 South Flamingo Road, Merrill, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hosted by Denise Travascu-Giano, Uptown Freeport, and Pleasant Paris. Music by Chris Diamond, Campbell Swan, Dr. Jax, Sir Toxic, Just Innocent, Joshy Vibe, and Coolie Hot from Cayman, from Bahamas. It's Lil Giant, Pusha Jr., and DJ Sang. Free soul tickets and Cabana packages are available on Eventbrite at Colors Miami, 24.eventbrite.com.
This event is sponsored by this radio station. Each and every Sunday, taking place at the Blue Dog Cookhouse. It's Caribbean vibes with food, drinks, and live music with the Flex Band and DJ Mikey Mike. Each and every Sunday at the Boca Mall, 6000 Glades Road, Suite 100, Boca Raton. And there is no cover charge, no table charge. Reggae, soca, R&B, hip hop, live band on stage. The Flex Band with DJ Mikey Mike playing the music. That's at the Boca Mall, 6000 Glades Road in Boca Raton. For more information, 561-961-3330 or 954-816-3679. Thanks, Blue Dog Cookhouse, for your support to the station.
Flow Jam Legal provides legal services in areas of immigration, family law, personal injury, Jamaica probate, and real estate conveyance. Attorney Open is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year via email at info@flowjamlegal.com. 600 South Andrews Avenue, Suite 405 in Fort Lauderdale at 4727 954-358-2020. And in Jamaica at the Dunrobin Plaza, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Suite 10, telephone 876-755-4594. Office hours Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays by appointment. Thanks, Flow Jam Legal Team, for your kind sponsorship to WZPP Radio.
Get ready for the 2024 edition of Taste of Lauderdale Lakes, presented by the City of Lauderdale Lakes. 11 p.m. at Vincent Tourist Memorial Park for an unforgettable evening of culinary delights and artistic experiences. Enjoy delicious food and beverage tastings, live music, art displays, and live painting. Plus, savor exclusive mixology creations by Uncle. Available now on Eventbrite. General admission for $20 or all access for $40. Taste the best of Lauderdale Lakes. Thank you, Lauderdale Lakes, for your support of this mission.
Tamarack Commissioner Marlon Bolton. He became the first Black commissioner in the history of the city of Tamarack, and he's making our community proud. Commissioner Marlon Bolton announced first-time homebuyer programs, home rehabilitation programs, created job opportunities for Tamarack residents, and provided grants to high school students and nonprofits. Commissioner Marlon Bolton also announced beautification initiatives and so much more. Or 275-3850. Sponsored and approved by Marlon Bolton, nonpartisan for Tamarack Commissioner District 1.
Teddy Upholstery, specializing in auto, boat, sofas, chair beddings, and lots more. For more information, Teddy can be reached at 561-929-5234 or email at teddyupholstery@gmail.com. Teddy Upholstery is located at 5618 Northwest 8th Street, Margate.
Thank you for your support to this radio station.
Hey everybody, it's a beautiful Thursday. Happy Thursday. This is a throwback Thursday on Voice of the Caribbean INI Radio. It's the one and only hostess with the most, Suzette Speaks, live on your radio. Big up everybody listening from all over our family of dials, our family of stations. If you're listening in Miami, 94.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale, 102.1 FM. Big up yourselves. North Miami, Hollywood at 102.3 FM. Orlando, Lake Mary, Winter Garden. We love the fact that you were part of this radio family, 99.7 FM. Of course, we're not leave out. Port St. Lucie, Vero, what's going on, Palm Beach? We see you, 105.3 FM. Suzette Speaks Show live every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Again, I won't be here tomorrow. I'm going to have to take care of some business, but I will definitely see you next week. Today's show, we are talking about, again, pop culture trends, news you can use. You know the politics thing that is hot right now. And if you weren't a part of watching the debate this past Tuesday, you missed out. I'm going to play a little bit of a clip right now. We're talking about who won the debate, who will win the ultimate competition for president of the United States. What did you think about Donald Trump's performance? What did you think about Kamala Harris's performance? We want to know what you think, because this is going to be one of the most consequential elections that will shape the direction of the United States for years to come. You guys are listening. If you did listen before my show, we had an in-depth conversation about immigration here. Again, our midday here at Voice of the Caribbean, we want to bring you elevating conversations, inspiration, and making sure you know what's going on for real in the community. Today, again, if you did not catch what happened during the presidential debate, I need to make some highlights for you. I need to highlight some of the things that are being talked about, because some of the things we're going to have to fact check that were said that don't make sense and that absolutely were not true. Let's listen in to a little bit more what the debate had to offer this past Tuesday.
And on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, you often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. For
52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength, we were able to do that. Now, for rape, incest, and life of the mother, I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
The majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President.
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that
Why
question?
don't you answer the question? Would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you
you
veto?
could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month.
Donald Trump was. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
Listen, it was a very heated debate going on, right? A fierce and fiery debate between Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. What were your thoughts on this debate? Do you think it will have an impact on the outcome of this presidential election? As I was stating to you before, one of the key issues that came up that I wanted to touch on, including the Roe v. Wade overturning of a woman's right to choose, is that in Florida, Amendment 4 will be on the ballot. And Florida's Amendment 4 is one of the big ones this election. It has to do with abortion and the government's ability to restrict women from having one, and the stages of which this can happen, right? Right now, Florida law prohibits any type of elective procedure from 6 weeks and below. But the text in Amendment 4 will now state, and I'll quote what Amendment 4 will be. A vote yes would be to protect a woman's right to choose and expand her ability to choose, right? So we're talking about Amendment 3, Amendment 4. Amendment 3 is a marijuana initiative that will be on your ballot in November, and Amendment 4 will also be on your ballot to put in the state's constitution. Amendment 4 states, no law should prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. All right, so voting yes on Amendment 4, what does that mean? Voting yes on Florida's Amendment 4 that will be on your November ballot means it would make abortion legal until fetal viability, which is generally considered around 23 to 24 weeks. That means it's not guaranteed, but within your healthcare provider's opinion, if it's necessary, it would also allow abortions when necessary to protect the patient's life as determined by healthcare provider. So it would change back the law to what it basically was during Roe v. Wade instead of what it's limited to now. Right now in the state of Florida, the law prohibits it up to 6 weeks, after 6 weeks. So we also have discussions that Mr. Trump made and allegations I want to fact check as well. He's now saying he's for IVF. Do you believe him? He's now saying he wants to pay for IVF. Do you believe him? Now, one of the things that he did say during this very fiery debate, again, we're highlighting what happened on Tuesday. If you were not able to watch it, and if you didn't get a chance to look at any of the clips, it's important that you do that. We want you to be informed, and we want you to make an informed decision come November. As I stated, there are places around the country that have already started their early voting, right? Our early voting will start next month in Florida. But early voting has started, and there have been ballots mailed out already. It's here, y'all. We're less than 60 days away from the presidential election. And we got a taste of and a vision for America from two of the candidates that we will have to choose from on this November ballot. If you are not registered in Florida, you have until October 7th. That is the deadline for new voter registration or to re-register so that you qualify to vote in November. October 7th is the big day. We have a couple more weeks, right? There are a couple big events coming up. I encourage you, you can check out what's going on in your local party. The local Republicans or the local Democrats have a lot of events going on around the South Florida and Central Florida regions. It's important that you attend. I know in Broward County, there are going to be voter open houses, including one coming up on this Saturday, the 14th, another one, a big one at Delavo Park, coming up on September 21st. That's the park next to the African American Research Library. It's called a voter resource fair. Get to meet the candidates. You hear the commercials here, right? The ads here. But getting to shake a hand, look in the eye, or if you can't go, look on their website and figure out who they are and what they stand for. This is the time to start doing your research. So we have a voters guide that I want to discuss, but I'm not going to go deep into it. I want to stay on the debate. One of the things that former President Trump said, and quote, in Springfield, he's talking about Illinois. The president said in Springfield, they're eating dogs. They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. When I tell you this was one of the most highly offensive remarks that were made, many of which, again, I could pull out from this debate that came from the former president. But this right here, this was talking about home team. This was talking about our brothers and sisters from Haiti. And the remark was debunked, right? As he made this dehumanizing claim that Haitian migrants living in Springfield, Ohio are abducting pets and eating pets. That is absolutely racist, xenophobic language. And the claim, which local police says is baseless, again, he trafficked throughout this debate. Former President Trump trafficked in conspiracy, things that are not based in fact, things that he saw randomly. People make up stuff and put it on the internet. We have to be so vigilant with understanding that just because it's on the internet does not mean it's true or real. The man stood up on the podium in front of the nation. Did you know over 70 million people? This was one of the most watched debates in American history. 70 million plus people. The one between him and Joe Biden was 50 million people. That means more people care what's going on. 70 million people watched it live. That's not including the people that got the rerun and the replay and been watching the clips like the ones I'm sharing with you today. Again, this is Suzette Speaks live on your radio. We're getting into it, y'all. We got to make sure we look at what was being said during this debate because it gives us an idea of what, in fact, a presidency under Donald Trump or a presidency under Kamala Harris looks like. She spent most of the time, especially during the opening, she came out on stage very strong. She walked over into the president's space towards his podium, shook his hand firmly, and was like, Kamala Harris, nice to meet you. Make sure she say our name. And make sure she reminded him how to pronounce it. Kamala Harris, nice to meet you. She did that, right? I thought it was a very strong gesture as the opening. There was no opening statements. They went straight to the podiums, into the questions right after that. But when we look at this statement that former President Donald Trump said, in Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. This remark was abhorrent. How dare you? You're trafficking in lies and in front of the American people, and you want to be president. This is what you're saying. The claim, again, which local police say is baseless, is not true, is untrue, lie. It first came from a far-right activist, right? Local Republicans and neo-Nazis. That's where it came from. It was made up to stir up anti-immigrant sentiment over there in Ohio. That's where it came from before it was picked up by congressional leaders and then vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance repeated it and others. A well-known advocate for the Haitian community says she received a wave of racist harassment after J.D. Vance shared the theory on social media. This is the people who want to leave the country. The Springfield News-Sun, which is the newspaper there, reported that local police said the incidents of pets being stolen or eaten were, quote, not something that's on our radar right now, unquote. The paper said that the unsubstantiated claims seems to have been started with a post in the Springfield Facebook group that was widely shared across social media. People made up stuff and then it was reshared and reshared. The claim is the latest example of Trump leading to an anti-immigrant stance and rhetoric. Since entering the political arena in 2015, Trump accused immigrants of being criminals, rapists, and poisoning the, quote, blood of our nation. Oh, you guys want more of the same? We just had a whole discussion here. Thank you again, Attorney Oprah Lee, right? With Johnny Too Bad and Ms. Chin talking about immigration policy, right? And the border being locked down. There are over 400,000 Haitians that are registered voters. What we gonna do, y'all? What's gonna happen, y'all? Where do you stand on this? Constantly talking about illegal immigration. Where is your policy? I loved when Lindsay Davis, one of the moderators from ABC, talked about what is your policy on Obamacare? What are you going to replace it with if it's so bad? Had nothing to say. Let's listen more into what was said during the debate.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond.
Okay, let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need president. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
First of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours because he would just give it up. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. Why hasn't she done it?
And he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
That was more clips from the presidential debate, the fiery presidential debate that took place. Again, we're trying to dispel the myths and hit you with the facts of what actually is going on in the country. Again, when we looked at the immigration issue, what Donald Trump said was not factual. It was not factual at all. In terms of it being true and truthful, it was not. When he was talking about immigrants coming into Springfield, Ohio, and eating people's pets and eating people's cats and dogs and all kinds of foolishness, it has been debunked by the local officials there, the police and the law enforcement. They have said they have not had any reports of this. This is not true. But he used it as a dog whistle to his supporters to say, this is your problem, be afraid, right? And not his economic policy or lack thereof. Right? Not what he's going to do with healthcare, not what he was going to do with abortion. Those are not the problem. It's those scary people coming here. When we talk about abortion, like I said, it will be Amendment 4 will be on the ballot in Florida. And voting yes would protect a woman's right to choose and extend it to where it was during Roe v. Wade, which was overturned by Donald Trump appointing 3 Supreme Court justices that did not support the maintenance of 50 years of legal precedent. They overturned it. Now the state of Florida, the law is 6 weeks, right? A woman cannot have this procedure, with very few exceptions, after 6 weeks. So we're looking again, when we talk about abortion, when we talk about immigration, where do you stand, right? When we look, according to the Pew Research Center, the overwhelming majority of abortions, 93%, take place during the first trimester. So even the Florida law would allow it to the 23rd week, 24th week. It is normally done 93% within that first trimester, like 12 weeks, 12 to 15. Pew says 1%. We got to start dispelling the rumors And the lies, 1% take place after 21 weeks. 1%. Most take place before 24 weeks, the approximate timeline for actual fetal viability, when a baby are considered to be viable outside of the womb, right? So when we look at the analysis, nowhere in America, this is a response to former President Trump. Kamala Harris said, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a presidency to term and asking for an abortion. This isn't happening. That is insulting to women across America. And I agree with her. A lot of what he said was very, very inciting conspiracies, very conspiratorial in nature. When it came to whether he wanted to see Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, win the war, or is he supporting of Ukraine, he was ducking and diving. He was asked twice by one of the moderators, David Muir from ABC News, do you support Vladimir Putin and do you want Ukraine to win the war? All Mr. Trump kept saying was, I want the war to end. He didn't say he stood for country's sovereignty, to stand up to Vladimir Putin. He didn't say that. He said he wanted the war to end. He did not lend his support openly and directly to the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian cause. There were a lot of other things that were said. I would love for you, if you have any comments, this is the time. 850-446-0562 gets you right in touch. We have a few more minutes. Again, I want to remind you, I won't be here tomorrow. I have some business to take care of, but I'm here every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. live on your radio, Suzette Speak Show live, talking about trends, politics, news you can use. But did you think that there was an outcome that would impact this debate? Impact the election from this debate? Do you think it had an impact on those swing voters that people keep talking about? That majority of Americans, 49% feel this way, 49% feel that way. Where's that 2%? Well, almost immediately after this, Taylor Swift did her endorsement. And we'll see again what impact this had. The last debate was watched by 50 million people. This debate was watched by over 70 million people. And if you go through and you fact check, I don't have enough time to fact check all of what was said, but it's very clear that we have a choice to make when it comes to our healthcare. We have a choice to make, and when it comes to international relations, how we handle our friends and allies or enemies and threats overseas. Who do you think will be the better leader to lead this country into the future? Are you thinking that Mr. Trump will be the better of the two with his outlook on this world, outlook on this country, and what he wants to do when he gets back in power? Or do you think Kamala Harris will be the better choice based on the competence that she's shown in the various areas that we have to think about? When it comes to her economic policy, she was highlighting how she wants to give first-time new businesses a $50,000 tax credit, first-time new homeowners a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. And you can look at other policy initiatives she put forth, because I actually heard policy from Kamala Harris. I didn't really hear policy. I heard divisiveness, I heard lies, and I heard vitriol. I heard conspiracies from Mr. Trump. That's what I heard from that side. But it's up to us. Don't let no polls fool you that she's leading, he's leading, they're leading. Nothing matters except what you do when you get in the voting booth yourself. You make the determination of who wins and who loses. Florida, they say, is within 2%. Donald Trump is leading Kamala Harris in Florida by 2%, according to polls. Do you think we could turn Florida blue? It was blue under Obama, blue for Democrats, red for Republicans. It was blue twice under Obama. When Obama ran, majority of the people voted for the Democrats at that time. But the last two elections, it's been red. It has gone to the Republicans. Republicans have an advantage having registered more people as Republicans in Florida than the Democrats. The Democrats used to have the lead in terms of registrations. Now there are more registered Republicans than Democrats in the state. All right. And it varies by county to county. Some counties like Miami-Dade, you know, Broward is definitely more Democrats are registered in Broward and so on and so forth. But do you think this debate had an impact for you? And when you saw the body language, when you saw the thinking, the policy, and the lack thereof for some people, when it came to the immigration question, when it came to the abortion question, when it comes to the economy, I agree with Kamala Harris that it seemed like Mr. Trump would have preferred to have Mr. Biden standing next to him instead of her. We talked about inflation. Again, we were running out of time. Last call, 850-446-0562. 850-446-0562. If you're watching live or you're watching on the app, feel free to leave a comment. If you're watching on the Instagram side, feel free to leave a comment. Big of everybody listening. But we have a major decision to make. And again, I'm going to do a show dedicated just to the amendments. There are 6 constitutional amendments that will be on your ballot when you vote in November. There are 6 constitutional ballots. We have one quick caller. Let me see if I can bring them on real quick. Caller, you're live. Go ahead. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Health insurance is very important. And Kamala Harris wants to do away with health insurance, private health insurance, which I think would affect millions of Americans. At the same time, when Trump spoke about immigration, he had it under control where they had to apply in Mexico before coming in and had a court hearing. Now everybody can come in, not only from Latin America, but from all over the world. They don't know how many people are coming in or where they're coming from. And then on the issues of abortion, he put it into the states, and every state has the right to decide on the timeline for a woman to have an abortion. And basically, it's in the hands of the people. If they vote yes and they do away with the 6 weeks, well, that's what the people want in each state. And then with the opportunity of having children, that the parents decide to do it, I feel
10 seconds.
basically
10 seconds.
Forward.
Caller, I want to thank you. I have to go because my show literally ends in a minute. I encourage you, thank you for the call, and I thank you for you sharing your opinion. I encourage our listeners to do their research. I don't necessarily think all of what you said was factual when it comes to wanting to do away with private insurance. Kamala Harris has not said that. She wants to strengthen Obamacare. She wants to make sure that no one who wants insurance can be denied for pre-existing conditions. Listen, I'm out of time. My goodness. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Music returns on Sunday, September 29th. 5001 South Flamingo Road, Miramar, from 5 p.m. to